What's going on, mountain bike fans? This is Jason Schroeder, joined today by my two favorite bench racing co-hosts, Tanner Stevens and John Hall, and we are bringing you a pre-World Champs chit-chat as part of our Vitals Downhill Fantasy. Can get you guys back up to speed on who's been fast this year, who we think's in contention for the Rainbow Stripes this weekend, help you make some solid fantasy picks. So, yeah, should be good. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Got a lot going on, but we're here and we'll always take the time to chat about racing.
Yep, we're good. John and I, fresh off the Monster Downhill.
Yeah.
I'm a
little disappointed Tanner didn't race, but
this one's there too, actually.
He's on the tape now. Now he's on the outside of the tape and I'm on the inside of the tape.
That is a fun change up, and I was just on other trails. I was there Sunday, but just hiding.
You didn't even come by?
No.
I'm pissed.
It was one of those. I didn't race. No, it was one of those days where I got up there too late and I needed to get laps in on that RE downhill bike. And by the time I did that, it was just the day was over. And I know I did feel guilty about it.
Dude, you could have signed up and ridden that bike for 3 days on a racetrack, raced, and had the best review. What other better scenario do you want to test any bike than under race conditions?
I know, you're right.
Vital #USDH. Bro,
Man.
I'm literally finding out. I'm texting Clay and be like, I'm pissed.
That is the appropriate response. It was one of those ones where whenever the event started Thursday or something, yeah, I had just gotten back from so much stuff where I'm in front of my computer, and then night of, I'm I got to build this bike. So I got to ride at least one day before we film on it. I know.
Bro, I got a bike stand. I got an A-frame. I got a cooler full of drinks. I don't care what logo's on the tent, dude. You got a spot. What the heck?
I know.
Is it still a Southwest downhill race? Maybe that's when I'll make my return.
Vail Lake.
Home race.
You haven't signed up. Come on out.
Yep.
That'll be my grand return. I had no business racing that 10-ply track at Snow Summit.
What are you talking about? I raced it. I have zero business up there. You got far more business than I got.
Yeah, you're on a bike that you're very in tune with.
So you used to be an athlete. You are now.
top 30 guy.
I heard that used to be.
Dude, you're still an athlete.
I appreciate that.
You used to be a mechanic.
It's true. Well, I know. I did feel bad about it. I'm let this garbage truck drive by real quick. Well, it did suck because by the time I was up there and everything was happening, I was like, well, I can get 4 laps in because the lift run's so slow, or I can get 2 laps in if I go watch and do any of this, Mm-hmm. I watched some of the racing from the chairlift. It was exciting. It was quite the production of a national series,
Mm-hmm.
It's sick to see. Yeah.
Well, dude, it's we're not kidding. I think Clay and the Pro Downhill Series is poised to we're getting off track here, what we're supposed to be talking about, but dude, US Downhill is poised to strike when the iron's hot, in my opinion. I think they're hoping to have another round or 2 next year. So it's growing at a acceptable rate that's sustainable. Clay doesn't do anything half-assed, so he's not going to add 3 rounds that he can't manage properly. So he's going to build it nice and slow and make it sustainable. And I know he's looking at other venues and stuff like that and getting stuff lined up. So and there's a ton of changes going on at the World Cups right now that we're all fairly aware of, but there's been some stuff out there that's gotten out, and as far as I know, it's going that direction. And so there's going to be a lot of teams and a lot of people that aren't going to have a place to go. And let me just be the first to tell you, if you don't know already, US Downhill will welcome you with open arms. Come out and race. Competition's sick. All the boys show up. The tracks are cool. The venues are cool. The event is ran so well. Mm-hmm. There's no messing around. Practice times are awesome. It's ample practice.
A lot of media out there.
Tons of media. Yeah, dude. There's pit setups. all the brands are showing up, dude. It's so cool. Like Monster came out with their semi. They had their Monster Army trailer there. Like Intense was there. Who else? Common Sol, like the Outlaw team, like a bunch of little like regional teams and stuff like that. So I think it'll get bigger next year. I think brands are going to start to realize that they can support this and it's going to go somewhere. So it's sick, dude, with the national series and then all the regional series too. So if you can only hit the 1 or 2 nationals that are close by, like pretty much everybody in the US now has their own regional series of 4 or 5 rounds. So it's like, you can race your regional series, and then when the national comes to town, or it's only a few hours away, like go hit the national. Like and then for the boys doing it, like, dude, you can travel the circuit and make good money too. Like the prize money is, I think, as much as the World Cup. Like it's pretty.
I think it was, what was it, $3,000 for the win?
$3,000 for the win.
Yeah, $1,000 on third.
Yep,
and then nuts.
Yeah,
yep. And if you're a U.S. athlete, you can pretty easily like structure in probably some bonuses of some sort. Like, you can make pretty good money on a weekend, like throughout the year. So,
yeah. I was so surprised by how sick that track was, though. Like proper downhill track, 3-minute track. I mean, what did Dooley ran like a 250 something, like a high 250s?
Yeah,
on race day.
Mid 250s, 53 or 4 or something like that.
Yeah, it was proper.
Yeah. Dude, it was fun. Big jumps, like tech sections, high speed, like spots that slowed you down and pinched you, like tons of line options.
Yeah.
That all worked. You kind of had to find what worked for you, and such unique terrain too. Like it's our local stuff, obviously. Like we know it like the back of our hand, but watched all those East Coast guys come out and they were just like, "This is so hard to ride. Like, how do you find traction? This sucks." And I'm like, welcome to our world when we go out to the East Coast and it's pouring rain and we're slipping and sliding.
No, and if you weren't there, you missed out on the perfect Andorra prep.
It was, honestly. I was looking at track walk photos this morning of Andorra, and I'm like, dude, this looks like at least terrain wise.
Yeah,
crazy, but looks like when Big Bear was prepped, like everything looked sick. It was wide and it was smooth. You're like, this is gonna be awesome. And then like everybody that's locals that are like, this shit's gonna get tore up. And like at all the Andorra pictures, and I'm like, it looks sick for track walk. And like the first 5 people down, like in practice, are gonna have the sickest run ever. And after that, dude, it's just gonna go to the shale, to the rocks, dust, and just like, dude, mid spikes all day. Like, put those conties on, dude. Put those cryptos on, and just maybe put it Argotol, the mid spike we have, dude. Uncut.
That new high roller.
Dig in.
Yeah, new high roller. Maybe a Magic Mary. Yeah, the intermediates are coming out.
Intermediates are coming out. Dude, it don't matter if it rains or not. Intermediates are on. Just, all the boys out there right now, dude, just put intermediates on right now. Set your spares up with intermediates. You ain't swapping.
Yeah, it's with some of the chit chat around World Cups and changes next year, and then them doing like their own feeder series. It only seems natural that like a series like Clay's in the US is going to have like some serious ground to stand on in the next 2 to 3 years, you know? And it's like we're like 20 years into chatting about like, why can't we have a Norba-esque race series back? But this might be the closest we've been, so it's cool.
This is it, dude. I'm telling you, it's so well ran. Like that's as important part of an event as like just the racing or who shows up. Like, because if you show up and you're like, dude, you're waiting around all day, you get a few runs of practice, and then like that's it. You're like, dude, what the heck? Like, dude, you get a solid. It just goes like Thursday, load in, set up, track walk. Friday, big practice, and then Saturday practice, qualify. Sunday practice, race. Like, and awards right after, dude. It's just like it's how a national should be ran, and it's ran super smooth.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, everybody should go listen to Clay Harper's Inside Line we just did, because he dives into like a lot of East Coast history, which is really cool, and then a lot of USDH racing from the point of view of a promoter. So shout out to him, everything he's doing. He's definitely got the reins, and I'm stoked he's the one holding them. So
yeah, come out and support it. I think everybody should go race it. It's so cool. And don't be intimidated by the word national or the pro downhill series. Like the tracks they're safe. They're challenging enough for the pros, and for the Cat 2s and 3s, there's everything that they can do too. Like there's always options, and it's for everybody. So come on out.
I dig it. All right, keep this thing moving along. It's been like almost 2 months since Leger. It's a pretty huge gap of elite racing. But we've had a bunch of racing happening since then. U.S. Nationals, French Nationals, as Tanner reminded me, Canadian National Champs, the Euro Conti Champs, Crankworks, Monster Downhill Race, like we're talking. Everyone's been out racing, and they haven't been racing. A ton of people have just been like posting laps on laps from all throughout the world. And it seems like quite a few people have been in Andorra for the last couple of weeks as well. So
that's weird.
It's been nice. Yeah. Yeah. Smart, huh? But I like it. I think it's been good because you get this, like, all this racing. Everybody probably naturally kind of does their own thing during summer. Like everyone's pretty busy. And then, you know, we get a nice little block with Worlds, Loonville, and then MSA to finish it off. So I'm excited. Everybody should get pumped. We got World Cup downhill racing coming back. I want to kick this thing off with a Worlds related question and chatting about the U.S. team and how Mr. Aaron Gwin wasn't selected, and just kind of your guys' thoughts on that. Like, Gwinny's had a rough 2 years. He obviously hasn't been racing very much. He's on a new team, kind of all those things, but it's the last thing he hasn't done in his career is get a Worlds title. So I know he wants to be out there and doing it, but I also know he's such a calculated racer. Maybe he's fine this year knowing that he wouldn't maybe be up to speed, but I don't know. You were just with him, John. Did he mention anything about it?
Yeah, we hung out at the race and split a place and got to catch up. It'd been a while since we've really got to hang out and stuff, so it was cool to catch up. Yeah, the whole Worlds thing, he was expecting that. He wasn't taken back at all. You know, he's been hurt for a year, hasn't really been racing, and really had no plans, I don't think, to race it this year because of how long he's been out and kind of understands the selection process, obviously. But then he was out at national champs, and he wasn't even going to race that round. You know, he was there. He was going to ride practice, just getting back on the bike. And then it was one thing leads to the next. He goes, I'll just do a quali run. That went pretty good. Decided to race. That obviously went really good. That influenced his decision to come out to Big Bear. And he's like, dude, heck yeah. Like, let's get back on it. But from my understanding, he had sent an email, you know, just to petition, to check, to kind of like do his due diligence to make sure he's at least try to get on the team. And apparently they had already selected the team by the time they received his email and the results and stuff that he got this year. And, you know, he wasn't going to take somebody's spot or ask him if there's nobody can get kicked off or anything. So I think they put him on obviously as an alternate of some sort. And that kind of thing. And he's going to be there anyways. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There was no like crazy decision or tactics behind it at all. You know, it's a pretty clear cut, understood that he hasn't been racing. He's been injured, probably not like at the top of the list with the results that he's had. But obviously like got a couple good results, feeling pretty good. And he's like, it'd be sick to at least go ride it and race it. So I think he might still try to ride practice. If he can, like, just try to like, hey, can I go do well, actually he might, not sure, I don't know when this is coming out, but nothing confirmed, but he might try to go do like the course preview. I told him, I was like pushing him, I was like, dude, go do a course preview, or tell me to do the course preview, but to do it you have to do like 10 laps of practice. Like so because he just wants to go ride like a World Cup track and like see where he's at and see how things are feeling right there. And he loves Andorra, dude. Like, dude, that's that California dust and rock dirt. He really likes the track. He's done well there in the past. I think the last 2 times he's raced, he's gotten 4th there. Wrapped up an overall there on the old track. Like, so I know he's bummed to not be racing it, but he'll still be stoked to be there. And if he can get on the bike and on track somehow, that'll be awesome for him. And dude, that was like the thing at the national and even national champs, dude. I got a few texts and they were like, hey, your boy didn't lose any speed with that time, by the way. I was like, good. Maybe he just needed a little break. So He's still fast, dude. He's still a threat. Like that. Do not ever count that off, man.
Yeah.
His racecraft and will to win is the people around him understand it, but the people that aren't, like, please understand it. It is gnarly. Like that dude has a switch, and when you see it flip, you're like, all right, this boy's better watch out, dude.
Yeah, it was cool talking with him at the race the other weekend. And Aaron, after the race, Aaron had a little spark got lit, and little fire got lit underneath him, and he realized that some other things might have to take a little back seat in life so he can train more. That's what he was telling me.
I can say it. He was pissed.
Yeah.
Pissed. And it's one of those things where you're like, give him a minute. I mean, he doesn't throw things. He's not like that kind of guy.
He's not Dakota.
He said he almost was about, he could see how Dakota can do the things that he does.
Yeah.
I feel the way that he feels after that race around in Big Bear.
He had a terrible race running up in Big Bear. Just like, you know, when your timing's off, like, and it just starts at the beginning, and then it just incremental mistakes over and over and over. It's like, he even said it. He's like, I freaking preach to all my guys and all the kids, dude. Like, if you make a mistake, like, forget it as soon as possible. Don't let one mistake turn into 3 and 3 turn into 5. And he's like, I freaking didn't listen to my own rule, dude. He's like, one mistake turned into freaking 20, and I was late into turns, and then I was late out of turns, and I was over braking, and then I was stopping. He's like, I was all over offline, getting mad. And so I had a couple people actually, they were like, hey, like, it's good to see him like upset about that kind of. And I'm like, yeah, he's got the fire. And yeah, as Tanner said, dude, he was like, might have to call off like a couple obligations and put some time in and really like buckle down on the training and hit these last couple rounds and see how it goes. So maybe we'll see him out there before the game's over.
Yeah. I know he went and just did some riding with Richie, right after the race.
Yep, they were up in Montana doing some training and some other things, and just some last minute stuff. So yeah, stayed up there, got some good training and riding in, and then had to Worlds.
Sick. Yeah, it's good to see. I mean, he wears the most hats of any World Cup racer, maybe. So, like, I'm assuming he's probably going to be announcing Worlds, maybe, or maybe the last few World Cups. I don't know. Like,
I don't know how
World is a weird one, but
World Champs is a weird one. I don't know. I know Rob would still announce it, I believe, but then it's not like broadcast in the same spots either. Like, there's different TV rights, and it's a weird deal. So I hope he does. It'd be good to see him up there. But
yeah. I mean, speaking of Richie Rude, he is one of the dudes on the list for the U.S., which I think is pretty rad to see. I mean, he did 2 World Cups, I believe, this year, and he only made finals in 1, but still, like, he's won a bunch of EDRs this year. He's leading the overall for that, and then to go to Worlds for downhill is he's having quite the season, old Mr. Rude. So I'm really hyped to see that. I love that he's back on a downhill bike.
Yeah, I think he truly wants to ride and race downhill. He loves enduro. Like, don't get me wrong. And he's good at it, obviously. But, dude, his heart is with downhill. He loves racing downhill. It's so cool to see him at, like, the national champs and stuff when he's riding. He's just grinning the whole time.
It's just cool to see the Yeti, like a Yeti on track as well.
Yeah.
Just for the history.
I know, especially like at U.S. national races, like their regional program was so big for so long, and so
it's 2 different ones. They had multiple regional programs.
Like, yeah, they had an A and a B regional program.
Yeah,
pretty sweet. So yeah, it is cool. I know they pretty much made a bike for Richie at this point. So yeah, it's cool to see. All right, my other intro question here is: do you guys think with Worlds being, you get teams from each country, and you're taking riders that are on different like manufacturer teams that generally maybe aren't riding together or, you know, interacting a ton during a weekend, do you think there's more like country camaraderie at these races? And like, I mean, take like the French team as an example, like is Loic and Amory chatting more than they usually are about trying to like help each other? Or do you think that just because they're wearing the same national jersey, they're like kind of still in their own lane?
I mean, I can just speak from my experience. It's just like any other race, really. The schedule is different, but I mean, nobody's sharing lines like. And at the World Cups, dude, you'll find that like the French, dude, it's like the Americans. We all like grew up and guys raced, and we're at the same races together all over in the U.S. and hang out and ride there. And it's kind of the same at the World Cups. Like you're always saying hi to the rest of the Americans, and I'll go say hi to and Dak and all the boys. And it's kind of the same with the French, but I wouldn't say that there's any like extra team effort according to like what country you're from. It's just a point of national pride. I think everybody gets to show off their national colors in a custom bike and try to go win a world champs for their country and themselves. You know, it's like the most coveted title in mountain bike. So that's all anybody really cares about.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, like if team resources get shared at all, maybe not if you're taking like, you know, the specialized team and like the common stall team, but if they've got does USA Cycling have people like on track and helping with information for maybe say like more like junior riders that don't have as much access and all that?
Yeah. So it's a little bit twofold. So all the federations are there to support the selected riders that they have. Take again, just out of familiarity, USA, for example. So USA Cycling will be there. They will have a team manager. They will have mechanics. They will have a tent to support all USA Cycling selected athletes. But they're also very understanding that, say, a guy like Aaron Gwin that would be on a factory team and has all of his own support and his team there, that like they don't require him to go pit in this little white circus tent with a mechanic he doesn't know in like a weird environment of people he doesn't like hang out with normally at the races. They allow him, and this is pretty much most countries, but they'll allow them to pit with their team, to use their mechanic, to do all that stuff. And the federation's just there to support guys like that. Like, here's your jersey. Let us know if you need anything. There might be a couple obligations or something like that at dinner or photos.
Yeah, what was it? Troy Brosnan had that obligation. He had to go to dinner with the team.
That was a weird one that year. I don't know how much the public knows about that, but that was a weird situation. That eventually got sorted, so it was all good. But yeah, that year was odd. He almost didn't get jersey. Him and Sam almost didn't jersey. So there have been federations in the past that are very like locked in on that, and they think that they want like everybody needs to be right there, but they don't understand like that they ride for this factory team, and that's who's been supporting them the whole year anyway. So like, go let them do their thing. USA Cycling is always about that. But now USA Cycling doesn't just select top factory riders. They have anybody who meets the criteria. So there's a lot of privateers too that make the world's team. And that's what that support is like really there for. And one of the mechanics over there, Than, is a good friend of mine. I've known him through USA Cycling. He's been to Worlds and supported USA Cycling from a mechanic standpoint for years. And that dude's so locked in and solid. And arguably, I would say those guys' jobs are harder than ours. We're used to being there. We have our one guy or our two guys and our team and our truck and our parts and all this stuff. Like those federation mechanics, dude, they've got 6 different brands, like warm-up bikes on 6 different kinds of trainers and wheels, and these privateers are responsible for bringing their own parts. So then there's wheels and parts and crap everywhere, and it's like, but they're there to support. Like they do have stuff there, and travel budget, and if they all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of both. Like factory guys are allowed to still run their program as closely as possible, because ultimately, like every federation wants the best shot at winning, right? So they're going to give their top guy their best shot. So no, the French Federation isn't going to make Loic go pit in a weird tent with not his normal mechanic and stay in their hotel and do all this kind of weird stuff. Like allow him to go do his thing, like go win world titles, dude. We're here to support you, your team. So yeah, the federations do a ton to support the athletes selected in the team, but also allow, that discrepancy for guys to have the best shot at winning. So
yeah, it would be so entertaining if they had to, though. And just imagine like Loic Loic, Amory, and like Loris, just all having to be in a little white circus tent and sharing like maybe one or two mechanics.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
What do you think Loic would do, like, without all the data or like can't read it? Like, dude.
Oh my gosh. I imagine he'd have one of those like mini travel boppets, just getting his like angst out, you know, like having to pretend to press colored buttons because he doesn't have them on his bars or something. I don't know. He'd have to get the energy out somehow. Or
he also like he has a random mechanic like taking the box off his bike. He shows up to the line with like
shows it off to the world,
hanging off and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't know how to put it back together.
It's hard for athletes, dude, when you're so locked in with a mechanic. And like, if you're ever in a situation that, you know, if they got to work on something themselves, most of them are pretty capable of it, of at least basic stuff. But if you're ever in a situation like somebody else is on your, like working on your bike, those dudes are like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing that? Like, are you doing the way my guy does it? Like, it would be funny. It's like that meme about the Olympics where they're like, I think every Olympic sport should just have like a regular guy in it just to show like how gnarly these people are. I think every world's team just have like a freaking Cat 3, dude. Dude, let's go, man. You got this.
Yeah, and it's like a random selection where that person has no option. It's like you have to hold it down for the average folk.
Yeah, dude, you have to go.
It's in the fine print of your USA cycling license.
Yeah, it's like random drug testing, but you could randomly have to go race a World Cup.
It's like a lottery, dude. It's like you won.
Oh my gosh.
Good news, free trip to Europe. Bad news is you have to ride Val di Sole in the pouring rain.
Yeah, surrounded by actual professionals. Like,
on track. Please don't run over.
Oh, I love it. That would be incredible.
Really.
All right, I got some notes here on just the season thus far to catch people up to speed in case they forgot, because I know I definitely did with this big gap we've had. So I'm just going to kind of breeze through some who's done what, get people thinking about some names again. Start with the elite men. Loic Bruni leading the overall right now. He's got 2 wins on the season. Been on the podium basically every race, and I would say he's the guy to beat this year. But he's being slowly chased down and gunned down by a very, very hot right now Amory Piron. He's coming off back-to-back wins. Like, I think that he is going to really, maybe not this race, like, doesn't really matter for the overall, but from the overall standpoint, the next 2 rounds, I think are going to get really interesting between those 2 dudes. Outside of that, Finn, Troy, Dak, Ronan, Lucas Shaw, those are kind of like the other names that have been up there contesting for wins. Ronan's the only one who's actually had a win besides Loic and Amory. So our boy Dak, though, he is knocking at the door. He has gone fastest 3 times this season between qualifying and semifinals. So his time's coming. I don't really even want to think about it too much because I don't want to put the weird energy out there for him. But I think he could be a definite contender this weekend even. So
I'll say it. I think 100% a contender. Dakota's probably been the most, probably not in his eyes. He has high standards for himself, but I think this year is probably the most consistent year he's had. And he likes that Andorra track. I remember those years being there with him. He loved it. He's fast there, so he's got a really good shot.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's finally getting maybe the spotlight we've all been giving him the last so many years, and dude, he's come into form. It's been pretty epic to watch. Outside of that, let's see, Lockie Stevens McNabb. He's kind of like another name that's had some moments of greatness, a few top 5 finishes between quality semis and finals, and highlighted with that 3rd in Leo Gang. Ocean O'Callahan, he's racked up a few top 10s as well. He's having a really good season. Seems like he's getting along with that new YT quite well. And then shout out to our US dudes like Austin Dooley, Dylan Maples. Austin has definitely been steadily building momentum since was it like an 8th in Leger, I believe he had? Is that what it was? I think he was top. Didn't he have? Yeah. He had a good run in Leger, and kind of since then he's won national champs. If you don't count the fact that Asa had the fastest time, he won it for elites. He won the Southwest downhill, the Pro Monster downhill. Like, he's definitely on. And same with Dylan Maples. I mean, changing teams and everything we chat about this year. He's had a few, or got his first top 10 at Val d'Isole. And Ryan Pinkerton, another one. He's made 3 out of 5 finals, first elite year. Can't really be understated how hard that is to do. And I'm just stoked that like our U.S. national team has such like solid names like that now. Like it's really cool to see.
I mean, did you say Luke's name?
I think I might have actually missed Luca's name, or maybe I mentioned it really quick. But in the he's like Luca's one of those dudes that is contending for the win with Finn, Troy, all those dudes, you know. But I mean, Luca's been Luca for a decade, you know, like he's always there, he's always contending, and I would love to see him take a win this year. Like he's just been, him and Finn, they're kind of like same in my mind, where they're so close, the cards just aren't quite falling into place exactly on race day, but just a moment of time.
I think Finn's such like a solid dude too, like just behind the scenes he's like a good human, so I'm always rooting for that kid.
Yeah, this is the first time probably that the U.S. team has been like everyone's on a proper team. There's
not the same thing.
Yeah, no one's on like a kind of like a, I don't know, not having a salary sort of team.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's really cool.
U.S. downhill, dude. I'm gonna just keep harping on, but dude, it's strong. Like we got some hitters that all are racing World Cups and are competitive. So I love it.
Yep. What a time to be alive. I'm sure glad I'm not racing. Steep competition.
Yeah.
It's not like 2016, that's for sure. Let me tell you. All right, moving on. Elite women, Valley Hall. She's been the woman to beat this year for sure. She's got 2 wins this season, 4 semifinal wins and 2 qualifying wins, which is pretty insane. Still kind of having trouble when it comes to finals with, you know, she's crashed at Poland, Val d'Isole, and Leger, but kind of who didn't fall in Leger. But still leading the overall. I would say these next 3 races, everyone's chasing her still at this point. Tawny, since second in the overall still, having a really good season, you know, after her TBI she's been dealing with the last few seasons, and just, you know, I think she's been on the podium 4 to 5 rounds, like took her first win after a few years at Val d'Isole, like really cool to see her getting back into the flow of everything. Marin Cabarrou, she's sitting 3rd in the overall. She's got 1 win this season in Poland. Had a pretty big slam in Leger, which kind of took her out of contention there, but sounds like she's back and ready to go racing this weekend. Miriam Nicole, another one who was out with injury, another head injury, and just so rad to have her back racing. And she seems like she's steadily building. She's had a few podiums, like another one that I think a gap in the summer like this will probably do her pretty well. And then shout out to Eleonora Farina. She took her first win in Leger, in case you forgot. So hopefully she's building on the momentum, going to apply it these next 3 races. And then shout out to, I'm calling her our U.S. hero, Anna Newkirk, just running her own program, having a stellar World Cup season. Like she's made every finals. She has 4 top 10s, highlighted by that second Leo Gang, and just came off another national champs win. So yeah, man, shout out to her. Stoked with how she's representing U.S. in the women's field. Keep cruising through here into juniors. Junior men, Asa, our Messiah, he has just shown up his first year and is doing it hot, but it's turned into a battle between him and Max Allen. You know, Asa's got 4 wins, Max has 2. It's going to come down to the line, I would expect. You know, they're both young and just like going for it. And I think it'll be interesting too, with both of them being in their first world champs they're going to, maybe how they kind of play that. Like, I'm sure they're gonna be really amped up, and they got like racer brain, it seems a bit, where they don't really care what it is. They just want to go race and go fast. So
I think it's going to be Max for sure has a shot, but I think it's Aces to lose at this point. Not in a bad way. His racecraft is like at his age is insanely mature. So and he just wants to go fast. But I think if he just has a good clean run, like he's going to be hard to beat. So I think if he doesn't win, it's going to be because of a mistake or a crash or something like that. But if he has his best run, is hands down, I think he's got it.
I would agree. Yeah, it's a very kind of Colorado-esque looking terrain as well, you know. So maybe a little bit of familiarity there. And I think they've been in Andorra for a little bit too. So getting the feet wet.
We're training on the old track, doing laps over there.
So. Other names in juniors to think about, we got Dane Jewett, Luke Wayman, Milan Falquet, John Mazel. They've kind of been the other names fighting to get a win this year. They've always been mixing it up on the podium. So good competition, the junior men's class.
Yeah, I think Dane could be the dark horse in the junior men's.
Yeah,
like he could for sure have a shot. He's always hovering right there, so he could.
I would agree. Yeah, I think Milan Falquet, is it Falquet or Falquet? It's Falquet, right? Falquet. Falquet. Gotta get work on my French. He's second. Yeah, we're very not French. If people listening all these years haven't noticed, I think he might be one of my wild cards as well this weekend, just because he's second year junior. He's been up there. He's had good results the last 2 years, so I'm assuming he's going to be sending it. All right, giving some more recaps here. Getting into one thing with Asa and Max for the last 2 World Cups coming up. Only 23 points separating them, so it's pretty snug at the top right now. Okay, junior women. I would say this is probably maybe the most competitive field this year we've had at the World Cups. Like, so many potential winners between Ellie Holzbosch, Arise van Leuven, Heather Wilson, and you got like Sacha Ernest, Ellis Fegby, kind of a name that's come out of nowhere, and she's been on the podium every race she's done. Arise has a win, Ellie has a win, and then Heather has 3. So Ellie is still leading the overall, but it's just 10 points over Arise and then 15 over Heather. Yeah, gonna definitely come down to the line in that field as well. And
this is one of the classes with those riders where I think Ayers will always have. I think she's got a great chance at winning, obviously, but I think Heather's on that like build of momentum where could potentially just be peaking like at the perfect time for world champs to win that one. So my pick's on her.
Yeah. What else do I have written down here? Oh, yeah, shout out to Tilly Melton and Kale Cushman, 2 American girls who have been mixing up this year as well. They're sitting 6th and 7th in the overall. They both have top 5 finishes. So, you know, as the season builds, especially when you're young like that, like just all the experience starts to add up. It's gonna be cool to watch them at the last 2 rounds.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know. Do we want to like touch on the races that happened during the break? Can a little bit. I have notes on it. I mean,
it's pretty much just most everybody's national champ. Like all the federations stick their national champs in on that break, and then the European Continental champs, and typically Crankworks round, which everybody saw.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean the
a lot of racing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that probably to do with the Olympics this year, but it did help get everybody else get all their national stuff in there, you know, without being like too tapped the whole time. I
think that the big news on that would be U.S. champs with Asa having the fastest time. If people aren't familiar with that, the juniors are lumped in kind of like the World Cups used to be, where there was no junior class. There's still junior class, but the national champion is the one with the fastest time of the day, and that was Asa. So Julie won elites and Gwynny second, but yeah, Asa swooped them both.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I'm not sure how I feel about that rule, just because I think I'd like to see a sleeve from every nation in every category personally, but it's really impressive that Asa did that on such a tight track. Like
back in 2012, they didn't have that rule, and it was Kevin Littlefield was on the podium for elite men, but he was a junior at the time because he raced in the pro class or the elite class. And then the same thing with Bubba Warren was in the pro class and Austin Hackett, and they all beat the best junior time, but they were all technically juniors, but they were racing in the pro class.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember. I think
there was
a lot of it. Yeah, I think like a lot of it changed when Nico won and beat Logan Migueli's time. It's sort of when they were like, wait, we gotta like really hash out what this rule is. But they still this year with Asa still technically winning juniors, he went on 2 podiums, right? Like elite and junior.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, I think
just see the clarification, like a clean cut. Like I would rather each class just have its own national champion, like regardless of time. There could still be an acknowledgement of that of some sort, because it is a pretty incredible feat. But yeah, it would just like if a junior wins it, but they don't get to wear the sleeve, so now we don't have an American sleeve at the World Cups. Like I don't know how that all works. So I'm with you. I'd rather each class be awarded their sleeve.
Yeah. I bet there'd be a lot more conversation too if, say, like weather became a factor, and like, what if it poured rain for? I mean, I guess if everyone's on the same time, then it doesn't matter, right?
But the juniors run pretty darn close. I think they run like right before the elite male, so it just essentially
okay.
They go before elite women or elite males, not before the elite women.
Yeah, I think it goes like junior women, junior men, elite women, elite men, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's all within like 30 minutes of each other with the amount of people that are there. So it's like it's not. Obviously, weather still can affect that, but it's not like that much of an effect.
Yeah. Well, and I think in elite or in the women's field too, Tilly Melton won juniors, but was third in elites, I believe, for in the U.S. Nationals. So kind of like the same thing where it's like, I don't know who she stole the podium spot from, but it's like kind of a bummer, you know? It's like you get third, but then you actually like don't. You're like, oh, okay.
You got third, but also you got juniored. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, still a crazy one for Asa for sure. Like, it's just adding to the saga that is his young racing career.
The lore.
Yep. I think other ones that
we need it. It's growing the sport. It's growing it in the U.S. and it's keeping everybody involved. You know, it's a sick torch to carry.
Yeah, dude, right, and doing it like American-made bikes, like just kind of the whole story with him being on Nico's team is so epic.
Yeah.
Other ones that sort of stood out to me was, or like the other one that stands out to me is Jacob Jewett winning Canadian Open and beating a lot of World Cup dudes. Unfortunately, snagging away from our boy Dak, but you know, winning that 2 years in a row, and I would love to see him show up at the World Cups and like be up in the mix just like that. So that track is so gnarly. Like Canadian Open track is terrifying.
That's one of the ones terrifying, like when you watch it on video.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, no thanks. I'm out.
It just seems like big hit after big hit after big. There's no letting up on that track.
Right out of the gate. Like you roll straight into chaos. Like there's no warm up, no sprint, there's no jump, like just
it's one of those tracks where you see skid marks on the start gate. You're like, I think you should be pedaling here, but there's also skid marks on the start gate.
Oh, it's epic. I know every or I guess the last 2 years now, like them racing that new track, it's like, when's the World Cup coming? Like, when are we gonna have the World Cup here? You know, and I still haven't really heard. Like, doesn't sound like that's happening next year, but hopefully someday we get it there. Who knows? All right. The one note
European champs.
Well, one note on keeping it Canadian real quick is Jacob Jewett did end up winning his first national elite sleeve, which was pretty cool. And then, but in second was Casper Woolley, YT Mob, who's EDR racer and like been top 15 at Enduro races all year. And I believe this will be his first downhill World Cup he's on the national team. So our world's team.
Richie Rude.
What's that?
Canadian Richie Rude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm a fan of racers that can do that, like do both. I'm like, dude, that's insane. So
that's so hard.
European continental champs. I mean, Andreas Kolb won for elite men, Max Allerin for junior men, Lisa Bowman for elite women, and then Ellis Fegby for junior women. It was at Champery, like the dopest track ever. A lot of people showed up. Like, what is that? Like, is that a national champs for just, or is it just like its own, like we have US Open, they have like
no, it's like Pan Am's. Pan American champs or Oceanias.
Yeah.
So but
Americans races,
it's a pretty important
no
jersey because they wear that jersey at the World Cup. So
that's the strange thing is like we don't have a Pan American jersey.
Yeah.
And Oceanias doesn't have an Oceania jersey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't
if you win those continental champs, like that's your jersey for the year. You're not wearing a sleeve, you're wearing a kit.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's like a fair level of like importance behind it, but I'm with you guys. I still don't really understand it. I guess maybe it would be like if we had a North American champ and it was like Canada, US, and Mexico, like all on like one location, and the winner of that wore some North American champs jersey, but we don't have that. So it is weird that it's like its own little standalone.
Yeah. I don't think he's racing on the French team, but the dude who got third, I think he's third, Loic Martin.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't recognize his name very much.
Yeah, huge standout result for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some good. I don't know. I feel like that's a good one to look at just because it's Champery, it's a steep track, and Andorra, even though it's not the old track, it's still pretty steep track at the top there.
He's been racing. I just looked up his Richie Rude.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's cool that they just had a race in the middle of summer like this that just a bunch of World Cup dudes came out for. I was a little bummed that Danny Hart wasn't up there higher. I was like, I don't know if something happened or what, but yeah, like, and honestly, Matt Walker, Great Britain, Matt Walker being in second, like, I don't think he's had a up and down year a little bit, so it's cool to see him kind of be in the mix. Andreas Kolb is one of those dudes where he's kind of been having a bit of a consistent year, but like consistently not in the limelight, it seems. Like you look at his results, you're like, oh, he's been like a top 10 dude, but just maybe after his few seasons before that where he was like, got a win, was on the podium a bunch. It will be, maybe he's a bit of a sleeper coming into these last 2 rounds, coming into Worlds. Like he's got the momentum clearly, he's feeling good. So yeah, be interesting. Well, I think that kind of wraps up some off-season stuff. We'll keep moving along.
Calling it off-season.
One quick note on just teams
mid-season
stuff. People are going to realize Troy Brosnan's not on the Australian team, but he just had his kid, so he's literally a couple days ago. So I think he forgot I think he knew it was coming and went home and had a kid and gave his spot up. So him and his dad are at home enjoying that.
Yeah,
congrats.
Yeah,
congrats, Troy.
Huge congrats. It's I feel like Troy's maybe 3 years older than me, something like that. But growing up, he was always like the really fast kid, and it feels like time has gone by. Like Troy is a kid now. It's wild.
I know, right? He was one of the riders on the first team I worked for with Aaron at Specialized. It was Aaron, Troy, and Mitch. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those things of like, I've seen some of the shit he's done. I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah. That's all right. But he's another one of those friggin' just genuine dudes. I love him and his parents, his family is awesome, and still consider him friends. So I'm like genuinely stoked for him. I hope he enjoys his downtime with his kid.
Yeah, super cool. I know, bummer to not see him racing, but yeah, huge congrats.
I mean, if you're gonna miss one, Worlds is the one. It doesn't affect your overall. You can take a break, and come back and just go for it again next year.
I know, it's just a bummer though because he's kind of been having a really good season.
I know.
Second, 13th, 9th, 4th, 6th
season. Like always has a good season.
Yeah,
he's consistent.
Old Dungy.
That dude is as sure a bet as you can possibly make. Like if you were to bet on World Cup, like you wouldn't make very much money because the odds would be so high. But like, dude, you're gonna make some money. You're gonna have to bet $1,000 to make 10. But
yeah,
he's so consistent.
Yeah, it is true. I know, dude, and he has good years, but he's like seems like he's having a better year than usual as well. Like I really hope he I mean, he's in the fight for like in the top 5 overall. You know, he's right in the mix. So it'd be really sick if he comes back to like Loonville and MSA and really stirs it up.
Yeah,
you probably, I feel like I've had quite a decent amount of racers that like, you know, will have like their first child and stuff. And, you know, you change from what I've heard, and I'm sure he's going to like come back with some different perspective and I don't know, maybe a bit more like clarity, who knows, and just really be ready to send it.
Yep. He'll have a different mindset for sure.
Yeah. All righty. Well, since we are here to talk about fantasy, I have some fantasy updates for this round because it's Worlds. It's a little bit different. So the schedule for this week, track walk was today for juniors, Monday. They start practice tomorrow on Tuesday. They qualify Wednesday and race on Thursday. And then elite start practice Wednesday, qualify Thursday. They have like an off practice day on Friday, and then they race on Saturday. So because of this, we can't run like 2 games at the same time. And so what we're going to do is there's going to be a junior race and an elite race. And you can basically, you're going to have to get your picks in for juniors. They'll actually open today. They're going to close Wednesday night before they race Thursday. Picks for elites will open after junior racing, and they will close Friday night before racing Saturday. We're doing double points because it's Worlds. There's only finals, only points paying out for the official results. Same as every round this year so far. We got prizes for the top 5 winners for this round, and we're going to combine junior and elites like we have been. So you can't win the junior race and the elite race. There's just prizes for who has the highest points overall. This round, first place has got a Tram GX transmission drivetrain up for grabs, which is pretty sweet. I would really like to win that. And then second place is still a TLD D4. Third place gets a set of FSA gravity bar and stem combo. Fourth place gets a set of Maxxis tires. And fifth gets cool Vital shirt, maybe like the one I'm wearing right now. Not literally the one off my back. But
yeah, that could be better.
Don't watch it.
Yeah. In case you haven't played this season, we're not going to hold it against you, but you should definitely play this round as well as the last 2 World Cups we have going on this year. It's really easy to play. It's free. You just need to have a Vital account, and basically you get $1 million budget each round. You pick as many riders as you want. Riders are valued based on how well they've been doing this year as well as past results at that venue. Because we're doing 2 games this round for Worlds, the budget's getting split up, so you'll have $350,000 for juniors and $650,000 for elites.
Throws off my entire game plan for this year.
You know, and when I was chatting with Sponer this morning, he was playing around with values of riders a bit more, and I was like, look, you just pick what you think's right. Some people might be upset, but whoever picks the best results is going to win in the end, just like always. So I think juniors might be worth a bit more because you have a bigger budget and you're only picking for juniors, you know? And our goal, what's that?
I already picked my team. I'm on it, dude.
Well, we'll get to that in just a minute. But yeah, what was I just about to say about it? Shoot.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Our goal's been trying to make sure that whoever wins each round actually has, if not all of the winning racers, at least a few of them. So I know like the first round, that was some people's feedback. We've been constantly adjusting values of riders, and I think it's got a pretty good mix right now. Like you got to be in tune with on the weekend how people are doing. You get the opportunity to like kind of see who's going fast when. This weekend will be a little bit different because we'll just have qualifying. We won't have semifinals to base results off of, but I want to say at Worlds, it's top 80 for men, and I forget what elite women are for how many actually qualify, but regardless, you'll get to see that and then make your picks. So yeah.
I think it was 80 men, 60 women, 20 junior men, and 10 junior women, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. I think they definitely try to keep it pretty open for this one. Like if you're there, hopefully you're racing.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, let's we chatted a little bit here or there about the track this weekend. I think that it's maybe worth covering a little bit, but personally, I think this is one of the more kind of all out, all gas tracks. Like right around 3 minutes, give or take. It's a track that has a pretty high average speed generally, and it's one that I think that people who can really lay it out there and not make mistakes where, like, there's other tracks out there where you can make some little bobbles here and there and it's not going to tax you too much with like your average speed. But this seems like one of those tracks that if you botch one corner, you just lowered your momentum for the next like 15 seconds or 10 seconds. So yeah, it'll be really neat to see. I actually haven't looked at any of like the track photos from Track Walk today, but how much has changed, if at all. I'm sure they have a few new sections, and then it's supposed to rain on and off this week, and that could really change up like maybe how deteriorated the track gets. We saw last year with it raining for elites. That was maybe not the best gauge because it rains all at once so much, and it did get quite slick, but that is such like porous, dry dirt. I think it dries so fast. Like maybe a little bit of rain throughout the week will make it a bit more muddy conditions than usual.
Yeah, it's pretty like yeah, I guess porous would be a good word for it. It's really shaly. There's a lot of like that shale rock, which is like, if you don't know, it's like layered and kind of like sharp and breaks apart. And so when it does rain there and then you get riders on track, it kind of turns up and dries out pretty quick. With the exception of like if it's downpouring as you're on the track, it's a little bit different. That was a lot of rain too. Like there was a river going down that thing after qualifying, when people were walking the track after qualifying, it was like pouring. So yeah, afternoon thunderstorms is completely normal in the Pyrenees. It's like clockwork. So it'll probably be a little bit wet for somebody.
Yeah, it looks like the big rain's gonna hit for cross country racing on Sunday. So
fun.
Yeah.
I don't even know where the cross country track is. It's still at the top of the hill where it used to be.
It has to be. That's really like the only place they could do it.
It's too steep.
Yeah, there's not an XC track over where the new downhill track is now that I'm aware of, unless there's a new one.
Yeah.
But I know we talked about this, John, but where are they putting? Do you know where they're putting pits nowadays?
So when they moved it to the new track, their only elite teams could like put a small little setup down in like this little grass field area. So if you weren't elite, which that year we weren't, like you're just on your own. We were literally like toolbox on the ground and like an umbrella and a bike stand for shade up against this building. But I think what they did was extended that area and built it out a little bit so that people could bring their setups down there. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't seen it. So I know the plan was to try to extend that to add a bit more convenience for the teams, but surely there are still going to be people parked down the road and still pitted up at the old track, which is, I think as a crow flies, like 3.5 miles. It's like a 10-minute drive away or so, 10-15-minute drive. I don't want to exaggerate it, but it's not easy to get to if you're pitted at the old track. I mean, it's easy, but you got to drop.
It's going to be weird since it's worlds and not a World Cup. So there's no elite team versus non-elite team. You're a federation. So as you know, back to what we were talking about earlier, everyone might be in the circus tents.
Yeah, but they still give. Yeah, they very well could just have circus tents down there for everybody to use. But the teams are still allowed to set their setups up and they're given priority and stuff like that. It's still part of the show. You know, they don't want to hide all the big trucks and awnings and stuff like that in a spot where people aren't going to be. So they're still going to give priority to those setups.
Yeah, I feel like Andorra is going to always be the example for the next year or two with the division between elite and non-elite teams as that gets more defined, and because so much of it is tied up with money and how much money you're spending. So that's one where it's really visually, you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Haves and have-nots.
The new track is great. Dude, as a mechanic, Andorra is my favorite when the pits are at the top. Like, I think the riders liked it okay, but that wasn't like everybody's favorite track. But dude, from a setup standpoint, like dude, you got to ride the gondola to work every day. Like, pits are at the top. Do all your work. Like, start gate is around the corner, so you can set your warm up bike in your pits. Like, if it's raining, you have everything right there, and then you just walk over to the start hut, and then they go down, and now you're already back in the pit, like ready to go. There's no hauling trainers and wheels and all your crap up and down the hill. So I would love to see it back over there. Minus, I think the track. Well, they can't anyways. They built essentially a huge hotel or building down where the finish was now, so you can't actually exit down there anymore. So it won't go back there. But I missed that one.
Yeah, I do too. It'd be cool if they could figure out a way just to redo the run out somehow, because that was one of the iconic tracks kind of immediately. It had such defined sections and weather played a factor. It was really steep. Like, yeah, it was. And from like the things you're talking about, it was just dialed all the way around, you know, like it felt like a proper event happening. Where I haven't been to the new track. I'm sure the base where the finish of the track is with everything feels all cool, but it almost seems like all the logistics is kind of a pain in the ass. So
it's tight and small. Like, there's a big, like the last section of the finish, how it comes out on the hill, like that's all big and open for a lot of crowd to go into. But the actual like finish corral is literally like a brick wall on one side where the lift is, and then a little tiny European mountain road, and then like the finish off to the right. Like, and then like giant hill going down. There's not a lot of like room down there. So I think it's, from what I heard, it's a lot better than the first year we were there. And it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't ideal. You know, we're used to, when you're used to like having your big setup and the pits all in one spot and close to the lift and all that kind of stuff, you get put in that situation where it's like your pit is 4 miles away and you're got a remote pit here and the track's there, but your parts are up there, and like, you know, riders are done with practice and they want to leave, but like there's only one car and everybody's got to pack their stuff, and then everybody's trying to get like it, you know, that's where all the complaints start coming in.
Yeah, it's there though, right? What are you gonna do? Guess you're just gonna have to go racing.
It'll still happen. You'll cross the line first.
Yeah.
Show goes on.
Yeah. If you don't like it, don't race. Alrighty. Well, we've touched a bit here or there on our picks for this weekend, but let's close this out with giving people maybe our top 3 riders in each category, and then maybe a wild card or two that could make it happen at World Champs. We'll start with junior women. I just have my notes written down here, but I think Eris, with being reigning world champion, she seems to know how to put it together when it does matter. And I think between her, Heather Wilson, and Ellie Holzbosch, it's those are kind of my picks. My wild card would be Ellis Vegby, because she's been 4th at 2 rounds, but she could have been 2nd at Val di Sole if she didn't crash, and then she was 2nd at Leger. So she's come out of nowhere and just been like casually fast as this privateer that no one really knew before. And I think that would be a really cool storyline if she just put it to everybody for the first time at Worlds.
Tanner?
All right. I'm going to go with Ellie Holzbosch for the win. Yeah, she's just dialed, I feel like. Yeah, her, and then I'm going to put Sasha Ernest up there, and let's go Heather Wilson 3rd, and then Ellis Vegby though, kind of wild card, but I want to say like Tilly Melton. If it rains a little bit, but I think she's just building. And then are we going with our elite or junior men as well?
Let's let John do junior women, and then we'll do junior men.
All right.
I'm going Heather Wilson's going to win it. She's been the most consistent this year, in my opinion. I think Eris probably 2nd. I'll go Eliana 3rd, and then Sasha Ernest is my wild card. She's been super consistent, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. Like, she's knocking on the door there. So that's my predictions.
I like it. We kind of all got a little bit of mix in there. Similar names, but in different orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, kick it off with junior men. Tanner, go for it.
All right, we got Asa for the win, Max second, and I'm going with Dane Jewett for third. And then my wild card, my dog on the Gamex, Mike Huter. He's going to be swinging.
I like that. Isn't there the company out there that's getting out $100,000 for someone to win with their belt drive?
Only in Alito. No, it's Bates.
Gates.
Okay.
Yep. Gates makes the belt, and then Pinion makes the gearboxes, and then they obviously like work really well together. So, but yeah, it's Gates that's putting the bounty up.
I heard some pretty good gossip that Bernard has fashioned a belt on his second chain, because he probably has read the fine print and it doesn't say anything about how many chains you got, and he's doing that the rest of the year to try to get that $100,000, which
it's only fitting.
It is. It'd be incredible if he won a World Cup finally. Not incredible, like, oh my gosh, how did he do it? But like, finally he does it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I know he puts a lot of importance on Worlds, so it'd be pretty entertaining. I love it.
Yeah.
John, you want to do junior men? Your picks?
Sure. I think, yeah, Asa for the win. Man, I'm torn between. I'll just do it. Max for second. Third, Luke Wayman or Dane Jewett, but I think I'm going to go Dane Jewett for third. And my wild card is Christian Hauser.
Oh,
I think he's always got a little bit of a shot there.
I like that. I'm having a really hard time deciding between Asa and Max because they're just both so fast, and there's something about the French racers though at World. I know, like I like naturally want Asa to win, but when it comes down to like what could just happen on race day, I think you're throwing a blanket over them too. I think it's definitely a battle for. I think it'll be a battle for third personally. I had Dane Jewett written down. I think John Moselle is another one that kind of comes to mind that's just been having some moments of greatness. Huh?
No, you can't put a blanket over.
I'll do Asa. All
right.
Yeah. I want Asa to win 100%. It's just like when it comes down to it, I'm like, it could be either of those two, and it's going to be a sick race for that reason. My wild card in junior men is Tyler Waite from New Zealand because he is supposed to be back from injury. He is back from injury. He's there racing, and we never really got to see what he was made of with breaking his collarbone. So
you the kid on the Yeti downhill bike?
Yeah, I got a funny story about that kid in Whistler.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I think I was with.
I know I was down there.
I was with Warren, maybe. Yeah, I was with Warren because we were joking about how that kid's on Warren's bike because Warren needs a downhill bike from Yeti. But we stopped at the first part of A-line, and it was that Tyler Waite kid you cross the first road, and him and like all his New Zealand friends, and it literally sounded like a flock of seagulls was just chirping at each other, and we couldn't understand a single word they said, and they were all barking at each other like over the top of each other, just talking and yelling, and there was no sentences being made. It was just words, and then all of a sudden they just took off. Yeah, it was all English of some sort, but it was not the English that we speak. And then they just took off. It was the strangest thing. Warren and I were just mind blown. We're like, what just happened?
Tanner, you're officially old. Mark time, date, and stamp it. Today's the day.
I came directly from Australia too.
AM, dude.
Yeah.
8:26:24, 11:11 a.m. Tanner got old.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Well, I would love to see that kid up there because I feel like I haven't had the chance to see what he's capable of. And he's loose, like he's wild, like he's willing to put his life on the line for it. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one. All righty. Elite women. I'll kick this one off since I'm talking already. I got Valley for the win, Tawny in second, and then Marine Cabarrou in third. I just have a hard time betting against Valley when I think if she can put it together, she's the one to beat. Tawny was third there last year, and then Marine's just kind of always somebody who can kind of be up there on the podium. And then my wild card is actually Cami Belange. Like, even though this is where she got hurt last year and has been kind of dealing with that head injury sort of ever since, she's fast and so smooth and has gone fast there in the past. So here's my picks.
Man. All right, I'm going to go Valley first, obvious reasons. Then actually, no, I'm changing this. We're going Marine first.
Okay.
And then Valley. And then Tawny. And I'm putting Anna as the wild card.
Like it?
Solid.
Dude, this one's tough for me. I'm gonna go more like what I want to see rather than like results. Is Nina Hoffman? How's her injury? First of all, I need where's she? She's racing.
That's a good question because I'm pretty sure she like picked up a small injury at Crankworks now, but she's still racing.
Oh yeah, she hurt her wrist or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna go Tawny for the win. Tawny Seagrave. Valley Hole second. Monica Ransnick.
Ooh.
And then wild card Marie. Like she's like I think realistically, I think if I'm gonna go off results, Valley or Marine are probably gonna win it. With like Nina and Tawny got like really good results and Monica as a wild card, but I'm gonna go Tawny, Valley, Monica, and Marine for a wild card. Mix it up a little.
Yeah, forget about Monica. She has been like a fourth place a lot.
She hides behind Cami as well on that team.
Yeah.
Who's still out, I believe, with concussion symptoms. Yeah.
She'll be there this weekend. It's just she has pulled the like ride, race, make the decision kind of in the moment. So as far as I know, she's going to race. So see what happens, you know. Sounds like this break for her. I was like trying to skim through some Instagrams this morning. Like she's definitely been riding and doing all the work to like keep working on her TBI and recovery and all that. So we'll see. It's, you know, always hard to go back to where you fell as well, but it seems very mentally strong.
Yeah.
All righty. Big dogs, elite men. I'm going pretty French. I'm not going to lie. I'm going for who I'm probably going to end up picking. I'm going for the stats. I got to keep my top 50 in the fantasy, but I'm going Loic Amory Finn. Loic's been fast there in the past. He's like 6-time world champion. It's world champs. It's like literally what he does for breakfast. Amory, building steam. I think it's a track that could favor him if he's able to like hit that switch of just riding so loose and sending it. He's kind of been talking like the 2 wins he's had this year, they're maybe a bit more methodical tracks, not so like balls to the wall. So we'll see if he can turn up and what he can produce. Finn's another one where like Finn has been so close to getting a win this year, and he's going fast a lot of the time. It seems like he's maybe just rushing his race runs a bit. So we'll see what can happen. There's so many wild cards to pick from, and I feel like that's even like a bad term here because they're just like other names that could win. Like I want to put so much money on Dak. I just don't want to add pressure to him. Like, but Dak to me is he's really on the same level as those 3 dudes, and I think he could totally play his cards right. I think Loris, Ronan, Bernard are kind of like the other names that come to mind. Yeah, see what happens.
Can I pick like top 10 in no particular order? Say that. That's where we're at. And I feel like we say it all the time and every year, but dude, the field is deep and there's so many people that can win, but then you have to remember that there's only so many people who do consistently. So, dude, yeah, it's hard to bet against Loic for the win. He put so much into this race, and it's so important. But I'm gonna go. Oh, dude, I'm on the spot making this call. I don't have it pre-written. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna do it. Dak for the win. I'll do it. I'll put it out there. I like it. I like pressure. I think you just bring it on. The more, the better. Pressure is a privilege. Loic, Amory. Yeah. Dak, Loic, Amory. No particular order, but I want Dak to win.
But mostly that order.
Mostly that order. But and wild cards, dude, it's deep. You could, I mean, friggin' Benoit Coulange could come out and throw one down. Loris could throw one down. Lucas Shaw, Finn Isles. Finn can throw one down. And I think like Ronan Dunn's like a true wild card, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That it is like he's like an older junior that's like life or death. Like I will die. Like he's dude, he will guinea pig everything, like, and friggin' just goes incredibly fast. And he's riding really well this year. So I'll throw Ronan in as my wild card.
Dude, I think my picks are gonna all sound like wild cards.
It's world. It's perfect.
Can we just put Ken in a pool and say one of those will win?
So I'm going Angel for the win.
Oh,
I'm going Frameworks 2 wins. We're going, Frameworks 2 wins. Angel for the win, Bernard for second, and then I'm going. Who's my third? I just had this pulled up, but and then Deprella for third. Tebow.
I was just thinking about him. He won
last year. Yeah. Going Tebow for third, and then my wild card is going to be Amory.
It's funny because like that sounds fair to me too.
I couldn't base anything off last year because of, and I don't take anything away from anybody. These dudes are gnarly, but the race with rain effect, like weather affected. So
took semis.
I can't use I can't use last year as a gauge.
But Tebow did just win national champs, so
I think he was fourth or was he? He was like on the podium in the Continental thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's funny how like those are I'm like, oh, you're kind of getting creative with your picks. And I'm like, but they're all fair, like why not? Yeah. It's gonna be cool.
World champs. All right.
And this might be Bernard's last year racing, possibly one of his last years. So and so I was like,
never know. Team rumors slipping. Tanner Stevens, dude.
It could be. He said it himself. He's getting old, so
he's got a year or two in him.
Yeah.
Well, the ultimate wild card that none of us said is, of course, Greg Minnaar, the GOAT. You never know. You never know. And that would be the way to go out right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go to the last 2 rounds if I were him. Like, I'm out.
Yeah, it's a home race for him. So
exactly.
Like, I will see myself out to my house at the bottom.
Is Laurie Greenland? Is he coming back for? I mean, he's on the entry list, but like, is he gonna race or ride? Like, he's been
riding.
He's been nursing like an illness, right? Like,
yeah.
I wonder if it's Epstein-Barr. I haven't followed it or anything.
I'm trying to remember from one of the Win TVs of Track Walk in Leger what exactly he said, but it's definitely some like fatigue issues and stuff that's not just like, whatever, like an injury to heel. It's more than that. And I think this break, I'm sure, was huge for him to like take time off and then spend more time trying to figure out what's going on. But fortunately, I think this year is going to be kind of a get through it year for him and come back next year. Yeah. But because he was saying, he's like, I can go so fast for a run here or there, half a lap here or there. Like, I know my speed's there. It's just being able to make it through a whole race weekend. So tough.
Yep. He figures it out.
Yeah.
He's gnarly.
Dude, right? We didn't even say Ollie Davis's name, really. He's sick, too.
Wow.
Dude, Lockie could throw one down.
Dylan Maples.
Real
all the names. It really is endless for the elite field. But if we're basing it on how the World Cups have gone this year, I think a lot of the names we mentioned are pretty sure bets.
Yep.
And I guess everybody will get qualifying results to base their picks off for fantasy. So lean into it, though. Qualifying's always a weird one, though. Like, some people definitely don't try that hard at Worlds. So
no semis too.
World essentially like a time practice. Like, dudes are going to go for it for sure, and like it'll be a good gauge, but it's not the real gauge.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps it up. Anything else we forgot? We're chilling.
Don't think so.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm really happy we got racing back. Everybody, if you have not,
how to watch it?
Oh,
just a big old question mark. The how to watch it is go. There's like, is it Flow Sport is like one of the avenues, I believe.
I think that might be the only way in the US.
Yes, I would say if you're listening to this in the US, try that. Or if you are in the US or in other countries, go in our forums, because I know people were chatting about it, and I'm sure as we get closer to the race happening, more people are going to be like, hey, how the heck do I actually watch this thing? And there'll be some links dropped in there that I'm not promoting anything. You should just go read our forum. So yeah, it is a tough one. It always has been from that standpoint. So hopefully we can all figure out a way to watch it somehow.
Link in bio.
Yeah, get a VPN. That's also probably your best bet. Sweet.
Email management at vitalmtb.com.
Exactly. All righty. Well, thank you, dudes, for joining me again today. Always appreciate it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to play both fantasy rounds this weekend for juniors and elites. Tune into the site. There's going to be a bunch of coverage starting from now after this podcast comes out throughout the whole week. And then look forward to our B Practice podcast after the weekend, chatting with our boy Dak. So we'll see everybody then.
Yep.